Hello friends and welcome to Figure Study, where as I stated previously, I am back on my Tobots nonsense. Today I'm taking a look at Tobot Terracle. This is one that I have had my eye on for quite a while. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tobots or my history with Tobots, Tobots are basically toys from a Korean cartoon show about transforming robots, basically. I've never watched the show myself, so keep that in mind. And the toys are surprisingly awesome. They're a little more simplistic than typical Transformers, yes, but they are enormous, they are sturdy, they are well made, they in many cases have really interesting things going on with the engineering and design, and they're just cool. And Terracle is from, I think, the earlier line, not necessarily right in the beginning. I don't know the entire history of it or anything like that, but there have been a lot of different series, not as many as Transformers, obviously, but you know, there's several series in, so this is from one of the earlier ones. And it kind of shows in comparison to the later Tobots, which I will be taking a look at some point in the future. Don't know exactly when, but it will be happening. But despite being from an earlier line, this is probably my favorite Tobot that I've ever owned. There are so many things that I really like about Terracle. For one, the fact that it's a tractor. It's just a fun thing. Like, aside from Thunderhoof, which now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have pulled out for a size comparison. Nah, screw it, I'm going to be lazy. Thunderhoof can wait for a while. But there's a tractor, which is unique in its own right. The robot mode is really interesting. The transformation is fun. And another thing with Tobots that are kind of set them apart from Transformers is they're enormous. Like, I don't know how easily you can tell from just my hands being there, but let's just get this out of the way right away. This is Terracle next to our new default deluxe Siege Hound. Yeah. Getting Samus out of the way there, I can put them right next to each other, and you can see, like, Terracle is enormous. Hound could actually sit on top of the the front there with room to spare. This thing is gigantic. And, of course, that leads to shelf space problems for me, but I think he's worth it. And for one more default size comparison, here he is, next to the duck tank, and he even dwarfs the duck tank. Okay, now getting back to Terracle's vehicle mode. The detailing is pretty simple, but it all gets the job done. You've got the little vent things in the engine compartment there in the front. You've got the grille, little Tobot logo there, what could be lights. Also, what could be lights up there. It's a little disappointing that the side mirrors and windshield wiper aren't picked out in color in any way, but at the same time, I don't think that it's a huge deal. Plus, considering how things move around and stuff, it probably would just be asking for paint chipping. I like the color separation with the wheels, with the completely different plastic too. This isn't paint. This is a green plastic piece inside of a black plastic piece. You've got the steps leading up to the door, although there are no handles to open, so I don't really know what's going on there. Even on the back, you've got some nice detailing with the rear lights, little trailer hitch, the spot for the tow key, which I'll explain about that in a second. This little QR thing, which I hate. I hate that they do this because it just ruins the look of the vehicle modes. But on the plus side with Terracle, it's in the back, so you don't really notice it that often. And in robot mode, it stays in the back, so you don't have to worry about it. Got the rear lights there, and the muffler exhaust bit coming up on the side. It's a neat little tractor mode that, as a pure coincidence, for some reason also has an APC mode. I don't really know why, but you just pop this open and flip it around, and then pop off the smokestack and pull out that little handle. You can just plug it in up there, and now it's like a little armored tank thing. And it's really silly and kind of dumb, but in a way that I find very endearing. And I also think it's kind of cool how the rear lights from the tractor become kind of front lights for this mode, and because of the way the colors are kind of separated and the way the shapes kind of come down on the top there, it almost hides the fact that it's a tractor. Like if you were only looking at it in this mode first, you may not necessarily see a tractor in it. I don't know, it's a neat little touch. Silly, but neat, and I'm sure it's got everything to do with the show. Oh, also, just want to point this out. This is like a tertiary mode that very few people are probably going to mess with, but they even painted these little panels on the inside there just to bring out more detail. So that's cool. Clip that back together, and since we're already partway there, let's just get to the robot mode. So for the gun, I'm just going to flip out the handle, and that's going to be that. And normally I would speed up the transformation, but because Tobots are so simple, and I think a little bit less common in terms of being covered by English-speaking toy video makers. Not to say that other people don't do them, just saying that it's not as common as Transformers. Because of that, I'm just going to walk right through the transformation. So, starting off, if you wanted to use the toe key, you would put it in there and turn it, and it would split this bit back here, but as with most Tobots, the toe key is completely superfluous, so I'm not going to be using it. And I'll talk more on the accessories in robot mode. You could use it to open these up, but it's really unnecessary. So anyway, I'm just going to pull here to disconnect the clips down here, rotate this section forward, and as you rotate it, you can see these spring-loaded bits will move in, and that will lock into place. You need to push that button to disengage it, so that's cool. Rotate this the rest of the way down, flip these down, and pop out this armature, swing it around, and it'll clip in right there. Same thing on this side. This thing is already large and cumbersome. Split that, bring the legs out a click, and we've already got the lower half of a robot. So this is the part that the toe key would normally do, but really you could just pull and that'll disengage it. So yeah, completely pointless. Unclip this bit here, swing these around, rotate that on both sides, and I personally turn this 2 clicks just for lining things up, and then swing it around, and these will peg in there. And then bring the arm down on both sides, fold the middle part of the back down, and then each of these wheel well pieces also fold down to just kind of clean up the back a little bit. Push the button here to pop out the fist, and it's actually attached to the hubcap, which I thought would bother me more than it actually does. I typically like to do 3 clicks forward, 1 click out to kind of situate the arms. That's just me, though. And then last, flip the head out, and there we've got Terracle in his robot mode, and I'm just going to pop the gun in his hand and readjust real quick. Before I go any further with this, I do want to give a big thank you to Transformers and Power Rangers toy reviews. That guy, that channel, he has been pretty much the entire reason that I've gotten into Tobots in the first place and gotten back into Tobots, and he's the reason why I had Terracle on my want to get list for a very long time, and I absolutely love Terracle. This is fantastic. First off, he does come with more accessories. He comes with 2 little plant things that work as missiles that can go in the gun there. I just have those off in storage because I don't really see a point. He also has a little thing that he can pull behind him in tractor mode that can unfold into a little metal detector / voice box thing, and the metal detector feature actually works, which is cool. But again, strikes me as kind of a superfluous accessory, hence why it's not here. And also, it doesn't really have any good way to store in robot mode. The only thing you can really do is pop it in his hand and have him, use it as a metal detector, and I'm just not really into that. And lastly, he comes with his toe key, which is like a little trowel shovel thing, and you like pop off the end and it becomes the tow key and stuff. That has no place to store whatsoever, so sorry if you wanted to see those accessories. I'm not going to show them off. If you're new here, that may be a disappointment. If you're not new here, well, you knew to expect it. The whole reason why I have the gun is because that actually incorporates into the vehicle mode as like a part of the vehicle mode, whereas the metal detector is just sort of a thing that he drags behind himself. So because of that, I actually am including the gun because it is an exhaust for the tractor mode. But anyway, I love this robot mode. I don't really know what it is about Terracle specifically that makes him my absolute favorite, but I just love this guy. The transformation is solid. Everything about this toy is very chunky and solid. The ratchets feel nice. The sounds that this thing makes when you transform it are just fun. It's very solid and clickety. It's just fun to mess around with. And I like, of course, the uniqueness of the alt mode being a tractor or farm equipment, as opposed to, typical car, jet, whatever. And his robot mode, it's funny, I thought I would be bothered by some of the stuff going on with his robot mode, like the hubcaps attached to his fists, and the fact that his torso is enormous in comparison to the rest of his body. But it actually doesn't bother me at all, and I think contributes to why I like him so much. He's not super different. He's not like Revenge of the Fallen Demolisher different, but he definitely plays around with more typical robot proportions. He also kind of strikes me as like, if you squint and tilt your head a little bit, he could almost look like he may have been one of the bosses from a Mega Man game, because he's got like the wider legs from the knees down, the wider forearms, the chunky torso. I really did think that I was going to be bothered by how long that torso is, but for some reason it just works for me. I think it might be because the legs are so short, it actually kind of emphasizes the, I'm going to go with slightly cartoonish proportions on this guy. But then again, he is based on a cartoon, so there's that. But yeah, I really, really like this. And the color scheme, too, really works for me. This kind of not quite yellow, not quite orange. It's sort of like almost school bus yellow, but with a slight orange tinge to it. Like, that works. The white bits everywhere definitely works. The very few red highlights in the legs work. The black here and there, the dark gray, the green, it all just works. And I also like that you'd think there'd be more here that wasn't visible in the tractor mode. But there's a lot of new detail that gets revealed here. Like the entirety of the legs, aside from maybe like the hips, which you see in the front there. The hands, obviously, the forearms, the shoulder section, all that, the head. Like, it's pretty much just this central mass, and I guess technically the tires, that you see in vehicle mode. It's a really interesting and effective transformation for being so simple. And he's got just enough little details sprinkled around to keep him from seeming too simple. Like the detailing in the feet here, including the clips, which I actually kind of like that those are green, because they're functional, but it adds visual interest to the foot. These little vents in the shins, the red kneecaps, which incidentally, the red kneecaps are a nice, they get a nice mirror in the red elbows up here. A little strip of green on the thigh, it's just nice. You got some molded gears in the hips there. The fists look fine. A part of me does wish that these hubcaps could maybe move back to like the back of the hand, because in the imagery that's shown, they actually do seem to be on the back of his hand as opposed to on the knuckles. But it's far less intrusive than I thought it was going to be, at least when you're looking at him from this angle. Like, when you start to move things forward, then you definitely lose the hand, but just from this angle, it's not that noticeable. And the big tire cuffs, this is kind of fun. The forearm has this nice green detailing going all the way around the inside of the elbow, as well as some molded detail there. The shoulders are simple, boxy, but I kind of like how he's got that little plant thing logo there. And for some reason, he's got his name on his chest. Whatever. And I think it totally works having the grill for like a middle, like belly section. it all comes together so nicely. And I like how the, if I unclip this real quick, you can see these are the steps that are leading up to the cab section or driving section. And then when you bring them around, it completely hides the steps. And now you've got this really nice silver, almost vent looking detail there, which is cool. And it also helps to kind of change the shape of his torso a bit, kind of bulk it out a little. As for the head, there's not a whole lot to it. It's very simple, but I kind of dig it. I like how got this very dark black for the eyes, which stands out from the yellowish orange and the white. The very, very white mouth plate. There's just very nice contrasts in colors here. And I like how that white goes all the way around the back of the head. And he's also got his little earpieces are like leaves, which is just fun. It makes him seem like a sort of earth-conscious gardener bot, which might actually be his shtick. I don't know. Like I said, have never seen the show. It definitely seems to be his deal. What with the fact that he's got plant missiles and a metal detector and a shovel. Anyway, let's move on to size comparisons, because, as I've already established, he's a biggin. So, not that I thought any of you doubted me, but, yeah. Terracle is, I mean, he's relatively typical as far as Tobot sizes go, but Tobots are big. Tobots are very big. Almost Combiner Wars Combiner big. Almost. And in robot mode, he positively dwarfs the duck tank. So yeah, Tobot Terracle. Like I said, he's pretty much my favorite Tobot that I think I've ever owned and currently own. Which kind of says a lot because I really like a lot of the other Tobots that I've got and have gotten in the past. I will admit I did get rid of most of my Tobots a while back. That was a mistake. I do regret most of that. But started getting some of them back, and I've gotten some that I haven't ever gotten before. And Terracle was one that I always was kind of like, I think I want that, but never quite did, and I'm just so glad I finally did. While I thought it was just the combiners that would interest me, it turns out, no, I totally am into the individual bots that can transform and just have, like, the two modes, just not Metron. But yeah, Terracle is awesome. Anyway, that's enough about what I think. What do you all think? Do any of you out there have any experience with Tobots? Is this the first time you're hearing of Tobots? Because if so, I highly recommend looking into them. I've got a few videos up on the channel from previous, from like a couple years ago. Also, I do highly recommend checking out Transformers and Power Rangers toy reviews. I'm going to link to the channel down below there so you can check his stuff out because he covers a lot of Tobots. That's a pretty darn good place to start because there's a lot that are on that channel. And if you are familiar with Tobots, which one is your favorite of the ones that you've seen or have? Because there are still plenty that I want to get my hands on, which is a shame because these things are so large, it definitely requires a lot of reshuffling of the collection. Yeah, as I said, for me personally, Terracle is my number one, but I still really like all the other ones I've got too. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.